There is a war that rages within us each day, a war between the scattered noise of the world and the quiet, steady voice of our spirit. Too often, we let the noise win. We let worries tie us down, regrets haunt us, and insecurities steal our courage. But let me tell you this, if you do not discipline your mind, life will discipline it for you, and the lessons will not be gentle. The reason I invite you to walk with me through this journey is simple. Until you learn to rule your mind, you will never truly rule your life. You will forever be at the mercy of circumstances, people, and passing emotions. But the moment you discipline your thoughts, you step into your authority. And so today, I give you 7 keys, 7 truths that will help you anchor your mind so you may rise into the fullness of your life. Your thoughts are not harmless whispers that pass through your mind and disappear. They are architects, builders, and seed planters. Every idea that lingers in your heart and every sentence you silently repeat to yourself becomes the frame of the life you are living today. It is not chance that shapes your reality, but the repeated patterns of thought that you allow to take root. If you do not command them, they will command you. And when they do, they will steer you toward places you never intended to go. Places where fear holds your hand and doubt becomes your companion. Think of it like this. Your mind is a fertile garden. If you walk away from it, seeds will still fall into the soil. The wind will carry them, birds will drop them, weeds will find their way in. Life will not leave your garden empty just because you are absent. And when you return, you may be shocked to see that thorns and weeds have overtaken the ground. This is what happens when you allow your thoughts to run wild. Negativity, comparison, bitterness, and fear, these are weeds of the mind. They grow quickly, and if left unchecked, they choke out the beautiful seeds of faith, gratitude, and courage. To command your thoughts is to tend to this garden daily, to choose with intention what grows in the soil of your mind. Many people underestimate the influence of a single thought. A passing moment of doubt can blossom into a habit of self-sabotage. A careless acceptance of, "I am not enough," can become a lifelong story that dictates every choice. But the opposite is also true. A single thought of courage can ignite a movement in your life. A single belief in your worth can open doors you never thought you deserved to walk through. The mind listens closely to the words you repeat, and the body follows. What you think, you eventually become. Commanding your thoughts begins with awareness. Too often, we drift through our days unaware of the silent monologue shaping our lives. We allow our minds to repeat old wounds, echo the doubts of others, and replay failures like a broken record. But awareness interrupts that cycle. It is the moment you pause and ask, "What am I thinking? Does this thought lift me or does it break me down?" Without awareness, the mind is like a ship without a captain, tossed about by every wave of circumstance. With awareness, you take the wheel, yet awareness alone is not enough. To truly command your thoughts, you must practice discipline. Imagine you are training a wild horse. The horse will resist at first, running in every direction, unwilling to be guided. But through patience, consistency, and strength, the horse learns to obey. Your thoughts are much the same. At first, they may resist your direction, pulling you toward old habits of fear or despair. But the more you redirect them, the stronger your mental muscles become. You teach your mind to obey your command, not the other way around. One of the greatest tragedies of life is when people allow their thoughts to be ruled by external forces, the opinions of others, the constant noise of the world, the relentless comparisons. These become masters of the mind, and before long, a person forgets their own voice. They forget the truth of who they are because they have surrendered command of their inner world. But you must not allow this. Guard your thoughts as you would guard a treasure, because they are, in truth, the most valuable possession you have. Let me tell you a truth that may seem heavy but carries freedom. Your life is a reflection of the stories you tell yourself. If you tell yourself you are too broken to heal, your life will bend around that belief. If you tell yourself you are unworthy of love, you will turn away from those who would give it. But if you command your thoughts to declare strength, worth, and possibility, your life will rise to match. This is not magic, it is alignment. The inner voice and the outer reality eventually mirror one another. There will be days when your mind is attacked by thoughts that are not your own, echoes of someone's cruel words, memories of past failures, the whisper of fear before you step into something new. In those moments, you must speak louder than your doubt. You must take hold of the thought and declare, "No, you do not belong here." Command is not silence. Command is authority. Replace the thought with one that aligns with your truth. Speak strength over yourself even when you feel weak, for your words are seeds and your heart is always listening. It is not easy to discipline the mind. There will be times when you slip, when old habits return, when fear feels louder than faith, but do not be discouraged. Each time you return to the practice, you build a stronger foundation. Each time you pull a weed, you make space for beauty to grow. Command is not perfection, it is persistence. And understand this, commanding your thoughts does not mean ignoring your pain or pretending challenges do not exist. It means refusing to give your pain more authority than your power. It means acknowledging the storm but choosing to steer your ship rather than be swallowed by the waves. The disciplined mind does not deny reality, it transforms it. When you wake in the morning, your first thoughts shape the tone of your day. When you rest at night, the thoughts you allow to linger become the soil for tomorrow. Do not surrender those sacred moments to worry, regret, or despair. Choose instead to plant gratitude, hope, and clarity. This is how you take command little by little, moment by moment, thought by thought. And one day when you look back, you will see that every victory you achieve began not with action, but with thought. The decision to rise, to heal, to fight, to believe, it was first a thought. So I tell you again, command your thoughts before they command you, for your mind is not a cage to trap you, it is the throne upon which you sit. Rule it with wisdom, with strength, and with love. There is a kind of strength the world rarely teaches us to value, the strength that is born in silence. The world celebrates noise, the loudest voices, the constant notifications, the endless chatter of opinions. We are taught that to be relevant, we must always speak, always move, always prove. But in the pursuit of noise, we lose the most sacred fortress available to us. The silence that restores, the silence that heals, the silence that disciplines the mind. Silence is not emptiness. It is not the absence of life. It is life in its purest form. It is where thoughts settle like dust in still air. It is where the heart can whisper truths that cannot be heard over the roar of the world. Many people run from silence because they are afraid of what they will hear when everything else falls away. They fear facing themselves, their unhealed pain, their buried dreams, and yet this is exactly why silence is necessary. It forces us to meet ourselves honestly, without distraction, without performance. When you step into silence, you are stepping into a fortress. The walls are high, and the gates are closed against the noise that would otherwise invade your mind. Silence protects you from the constant intrusion of voices that do not belong to you. In that stillness, you discover which thoughts are truly yours and which ones you have simply borrowed from the world. Think of how often your mind is flooded with opinions that were never born in your own soul. The judgment of others, the comparison you see scrolling through endless screens, the urgency of demands that are not aligned with your spirit, these all disguise themselves as your own voice. But they are not. They are intruders. And if you do not build the fortress of silence, you will never know the difference. It is in silence that clarity begins to take shape. The fog of confusion, which is often stirred by too much noise, begins to lift when the noise is gone. Decisions that once felt impossible suddenly become clear, not because the answers have appeared from somewhere outside of you, but because the answers were always within you. Silence gave them space to rise. The greatest mistake many make is believing silence is passive, that it is wasted time, that it is inaction. But silence is one of the most powerful forms of action you can take. It is training for the mind, discipline for the spirit. It sharpens your awareness and strengthens your inner voice. The person who practices silence learns to respond instead of react. They learn patience. They learn self-control. They learn how to hear truth without the interference of distraction. Noise is easy. Noise asks nothing of us but consumption. It fills the space so we do not have to. But silence is demanding. It asks for courage. It demands honesty. It requires discipline. To sit alone with your thoughts is to strip away the masks you wear for the world and face yourself unguarded. And while that may be uncomfortable at first, it is the birthplace of transformation. There is a reason ancient wisdom across cultures and centuries has always returned to silence. The prophets, the poets, the visionaries, so many of them retreated into stillness before they could step into their calling. They knew that the mind must be quieted before the heart can speak. They knew that silence is not weakness, but preparation. Imagine your mind as a river. When disturbed, the waters are muddy and unclear. You cannot see what lies beneath the surface. But when the river is still, the water clears and its depth becomes visible. Silence is the stillness that clears the waters of your mind. Without it, you are always reacting to ripples on the surface, never seeing the truth beneath. In silence, you begin to understand yourself differently. You recognize patterns of thought that were once hidden. You notice the fears that quietly drive your decisions. You uncover the desires that you have buried beneath responsibility or doubt. And with each discovery, you take back authority over your own life. For how can you command your path if you do not even know what is guiding you from within? But silence is not only about discovery, it is about protection. Just as a fortress shields you from enemies, silence shields your mind from the bombardment of negativity that surrounds you daily. In silence, the criticisms of others cannot touch you. In silence, the pressure to perform fades away. In silence, the constant race of the world slows down, and you are reminded that your worth does not depend on keeping pace with anyone else. The fortress of silence also guards your energy. Words spend energy. Conversations consume energy. Arguments drain it entirely. But silence allows you to store strength, to conserve it, to renew it. Just as warriors return to a fortress to rest and regain power before another battle, your mind returns to silence to prepare for the battles of daily life. Without it, you are left fighting, exhausted, vulnerable, and unfocused. Silence also connects you to something greater than yourself. When the world's volume is turned down, you can hear the faint but steady hum of creation, the rhythm of life itself. You notice the wind, the rustling of trees, the beating of your own heart. These sounds are not distractions. They are reminders that you belong to something vast, something eternal, and in those reminders, peace is found. Do not mistake silence for loneliness. Loneliness is emptiness that aches. Silence is fullness that heals. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Silence is the deepening of connection to yourself, to life, to truth. When you enter silence willingly, you do not feel less, you feel more. Make silence a practice, not a rarity. Let it become part of your day the way food and water are. Just as your body cannot survive without nourishment, your mind cannot thrive without stillness. Even a few minutes of true quiet can shift the entire rhythm of your day. And over time, those minutes build into strength, clarity, and discipline that no amount of noise could ever give you. The fortress of silence is waiting. It does not require wealth or status or permission. It requires only your willingness to step inside, to close the gates on the world for a moment, and to allow your mind to breathe. And when you emerge, you will not be the same. You will be stronger, sharper, more disciplined. You will walk into the noise of the world with the peace of silence still echoing within you. The past is a powerful thing. It lingers like a shadow, following us even when we try to outrun it. It whispers reminders of what went wrong, of mistakes made, of opportunities missed. For some, the past is a prison they never leave, even while their body moves forward. Their thoughts remain bound to yesterday's chains, but life is too vast, too full, too alive to be lived staring at a rearview mirror. To discipline your mind, you must refuse the chains of yesterday, for they are not worthy of the power you give them. Regret is heavy, and memory can be cruel. A single moment from years ago can hold the same weight in your mind as if it happened just yesterday. The mind replays the scene word for word, mistake for mistake, until you begin to believe you are that mistake, but you are not. The past is not your identity. It is an event, a chapter, a lesson. The danger comes when you let the chapter define the whole story, when you let one season convince you it is your destiny. We carry shame like baggage. We replay conversations we wish had gone differently. We hold grudges against ourselves for not knowing then what we know now. But growth means you cannot judge your past self with the wisdom of today. You were learning, you were becoming. And the fact that you now see the flaw, the misstep, the immaturity, that itself is proof you have grown. Why then should you allow yesterday's version of yourself to chain the person you are today? The past has its place, yes. It holds lessons. It carries memories that can shape us, and it provides the soil out of which our present grows. But it was never meant to be a cage. The past is a teacher, not a master. And the moment you confuse the two, you hand over the keys to your freedom. Think of a person dragging chains behind them. Each chain is a moment of pain they refuse to release, a betrayal, a failure, a word that cut too deep. One chain alone might not feel unbearable, but link by link, the weight grows. And with every step into the future, those chains slow them down, keeping them from running freely. How many of us walk through life like this, slowed by chains we were never meant to carry? How many of us call it normal because we've carried them for so long we've forgotten what freedom feels like? Refusing the chains of yesterday begins with choice. You cannot change what has happened. You cannot rewrite a single page already lived, but you can choose not to carry it into your tomorrow. You can choose to release the grip of regret, to forgive yourself for what you did not know, to let go of the bitterness that poisons your spirit. Release is not weakness, it is strength. It takes far more courage to put down the weight of the past than to keep dragging it. The truth is, yesterday's chains are seductive. They convince you they are necessary. They tell you that if you let them go, you will lose part of who you are. But those chains lie. They are not you. They are not your essence. They are remnants, broken pieces, shadows. Who you truly are has always been more than what you endured. You must train your mind to stop feeding the weight of the past. Every time you replay the pain, you strengthen the chain. Every time you speak of yourself only through the lens of your mistakes, you polish the lock that keeps you bound. Discipline means refusing to give energy to what holds you captive. It means catching yourself when your mind drifts backward and firmly redirecting it toward what lies ahead. And do not think for a moment that refusing the chains of yesterday means forgetting everything. Forgetting is not the goal. Remembering without being ruled by memory is. Carrying wisdom without carrying shame is. Learning the lesson but leaving the pain behind is. That is the discipline of a free mind. The chains of yesterday also include the harm others have done to you. Words spoken in cruelty, love that was withheld, promises broken. These too can bind you if you hold them tightly, but forgiveness, true forgiveness, is the act of breaking those links. Forgiveness is not about erasing the past. It is about refusing to let the past decide how heavy your heart will be today. So many lives are wasted looking backward, rehearsing arguments that will never be had, reliving pain that cannot be undone. But your mind was not created to be a theater for reruns of sorrow. It was created to imagine, to create, to hope, to dream. And every moment you spend in the prison of yesterday is a moment stolen from the possibility of today. Ask yourself, who would you be if you finally laid those chains down? What kind of love could you give if you stopped believing you were unworthy? What kind of courage could you step into if you stopped defining yourself by failure? What kind of freedom could you taste if you stopped feeding the weight of what was? The answer is already within you. The only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is the decision to refuse the chains that no longer belong in your hands. Life will always move forward. Time will not stop to let you catch up. The sun rises each morning, not concerned with what happened the day before, and you too must learn to rise. Refusing the chains of yesterday is not about erasing the past. It is about refusing to kneel before it. It is about claiming your power in the present and daring to believe that your future is brighter than any shadow left behind you. So let yesterday be yesterday. Let its lessons shape you, but not define you. Let its pain strengthen you, but not enslave you. Walk forward with empty hands, with a free mind, with a spirit that knows the truth. Yesterday cannot hold you unless you choose to hold it. Focus is one of the rarest currencies in our time. Everywhere you turn, something is vying for your attention. The screens that light up with endless notifications, the conversations that pull you into gossip, the comparisons that whisper you are behind. The world is loud, relentless, and demanding, and in the chaos, your dreams are often lost. Not because you lack ability, but because you lack focus. Discipline of the mind requires that you treat your focus as a muscle, something that must be trained, strengthened, and protected if you are to live a life of clarity and purpose. A muscle that is never used becomes weak. It loses its strength, its resilience, its power. The same is true of focus. When you let your mind wander aimlessly from one distraction to another, you weaken your capacity to hold attention on what truly matters. You may want success, you may want peace, you may want purpose, but without focus, you will scatter your energy until nothing takes root. Focus is the difference between a flame that flickers and dies and a fire that burns bright enough to light the path ahead. The truth is, we have grown accustomed to distraction. We crave it, even when it harms us. We scroll when we should be creating. We drift when we should be building. We numb ourselves with noise because silence feels too heavy, because effort feels too demanding. But just as you cannot build strength without lifting weight, you cannot build focus without discipline. Distraction is easy. Focus is a choice. Training your focus begins with intention. You must decide what matters to you. Without a clear sense of priority, your attention will always be stolen by whatever is loudest, fastest, or closest. But when you know what matters, your calling, your goals, your relationships, you learn to direct your energy with purpose. Focus is not just about saying yes to something, it is about saying no to everything else. Think of an athlete in training. They do not lift weights randomly or run without direction. Every move, every practice, every choice is aligned with the goal they want to reach. That is how you must approach your focus. You do not allow every thought, every demand, every distraction to pull you. You train your mind to align with your vision, and when your focus strengthens, your vision sharpens. What once felt impossible begins to take shape because your energy is no longer scattered, it is concentrated. Focus also requires endurance. Just as a muscle aches under strain, your mind will resist the discipline of attention. It will crave the easy escape of distraction. You will feel restless. You will want to check, to scroll, to wander. But endurance is built in the moments when you refuse to give in. Each time you bring your attention back, even after it drifts, you grow stronger. Each time you resist the urge to abandon your work for something easier, you build resilience. Endurance is not about perfection, it is about persistence. Guarding your focus is just as important as strengthening it. The world will not respect your attention unless you demand it. People will ask for your time, responsibilities will pile on, noise will call to you. You must protect your focus as though it is sacred because it is. It is the very currency of your destiny. Every great work, every meaningful change, every deep relationship was built on focus. Without it, nothing of value lasts. Training your focus also requires rest. A muscle grows not just in the lifting, but in the recovery. Likewise, your mind needs moments of restoration. Constant strain leads to exhaustion, and exhaustion leads to carelessness. Learn to step away, to breathe, to allow silence to reset your thoughts. Focus is not about forcing yourself endlessly. It is about working with rhythm, with discipline, with balance. Clarity is the reward of focus. When you train your mind to stay fixed on what matters, the noise begins to fade. You stop chasing every idea, every demand, every opinion. You learn to discern the important from the urgent, the valuable from the meaningless. Clarity is freedom, and it comes only when you have strengthened the muscle of focus long enough to hold it. There will always be temptations to scatter yourself thin. There will always be voices telling you to do more, be more, chase more. But focus is the courage to choose less, to pour deeply into what matters most, rather than spread yourself across what matters least. It is the discipline of depth over breadth, of quality over quantity, of significance over noise. And remember this, where your focus goes, your life follows. If your attention is always on fear, you will live in fear. If your attention is always on lack, you will live in scarcity. But if your focus is fixed on growth, on gratitude, on vision, your life will move in that direction. The mind cannot help but build the world it constantly sees. Focus is not only a tool of discipline, it is a tool of creation. So treat your focus as a muscle. Train it daily, challenge it, protect it, strengthen it. Refuse to hand it over to distractions that do not deserve it. Learn to endure, to persist, to bring your mind back again and again to what truly matters. For when your focus grows strong, you become unstoppable. The scattered fragments of your energy fuse into a force that can carve through doubt, through fear, through every obstacle in your way. And with that force, you will build the life you were meant to live. Your mind is a sacred space. It is the place where your dreams are conceived, where your identity takes shape, where your future begins. And just as you would guard a home from intruders or a treasure from thieves, you must guard your mind with the same vigilance. Too often, people live as though their minds are open gates where anything and anyone can wander in freely. They allow gossip, criticism, fear, and negativity to enter unchecked, and then wonder why they feel burdened, lost, or broken. But the truth is simple. What you allow into your mind will eventually shape what flows out of your life. A disciplined life begins at the gates of thought. Every word you hear, every story you consume, every belief you accept has the power to either build you or break you. If you are not careful, your mind will become cluttered with the debris of the world, filled with voices that do not belong to you. And when the voices of others become louder than your own, you lose sight of your truth. Guarding the gate of your mind is not about isolation, it is about preservation. It is about protecting your peace, your clarity, and your vision from being poisoned by what does not serve you. Imagine a fortress with open doors, no guards and no walls. Anyone can walk in, take what they want, and leave destruction behind. That is what an unguarded mind looks like. The news, the gossip, the constant criticisms, the doubts of others, they march in freely, setting fires, leaving scars. But a guarded mind is different. It knows how to say no. It knows how to close the gate against lies. It knows how to filter what enters and what stays. That is the discipline that separates the strong from the scattered. Guarding your mind means being intentional about what you consume. Words are powerful, they linger. The music you listen to, the shows you watch, the conversations you entertain all leave an imprint. They may seem harmless in the moment, but repeated often enough, they shape your thoughts. And your thoughts, in turn, shape your reality. Ask yourself, is what I am allowing into my mind nourishing me, or is it draining me? Does it align with the person I want to become, or does it pull me further away? It also means being cautious with people. Not every voice deserves access to your heart. Some people speak life into you, reminding you of your worth, your strength, your purpose. But others speak poison, whether through criticism, jealousy, or fear. If you are not vigilant, you may find yourself carrying their words as though they are truth. But you must remember you are the keeper of your own gate. No one else has the right to deposit their doubt into your soul unless you open the door and let them. Guarding your mind is not about arrogance. It is about stewardship. Just as a gardener protects the soil from weeds, you must protect your thoughts from corruption. A single weed left unattended can spread and choke out the good. In the same way, one toxic thought, if entertained long enough, can spread through your entire life. Guarding the gate means pulling those weeds quickly, refusing to give them root, replacing them with seeds of strength and faith. The discipline of guarding your mind also means being mindful of your own self-talk. Sometimes the intruder is not from the outside, it is you. It is the voice that says you are not enough, the whisper that tells you to give up, the echo of past mistakes that tries to convince you they define you. Guarding your mind means standing watch over your own thoughts and refusing to let self-sabotage rule your inner world. You cannot always stop a thought from appearing, but you can stop it from settling. You can tell yourself, no, this is not truth. I will not let this live here. Strengthening the gate of your mind also requires building walls of discipline, habits that protect your focus and peace. Meditation, prayer, journaling, silence, these are not just rituals. They are shields. They train your mind to filter what enters, to recognize truth, to reject lies. They give you the clarity to know when to say yes and when to say no. Without these walls, the gate will always feel vulnerable, always at risk of intrusion. But with them, you create a sanctuary, a place where your spirit can thrive. Do not be mistaken. The world will always try to enter. Fear will always knock. Negativity will always demand attention, but guarding your mind means you decide what gets in and what stays out. You cannot always control what approaches your gate, but you can always control whether you open it. That choice is your power. That discipline is your freedom. Guarding your mind also means choosing what you focus on. You can let your attention dwell on problems, on pain, on scarcity, or you can direct it toward solutions, healing, and abundance. The gatekeeper decides, and where your attention goes, your energy flows. Protect your attention as you would protect your very breath, because it is life itself. Understand this. Guarding your mind is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot pour light into others if your own well is poisoned. You cannot build strength if you are constantly absorbing weakness. By guarding your thoughts, you protect not only yourself, but also the people who will one day depend on your strength. Your peace becomes their peace. Your clarity becomes their guidance. Your discipline becomes their example. So guard the gate of your mind with wisdom. Choose carefully what you allow in, and be ruthless about what you keep out. Protect your silence, honor your truth, and do not hand the keys of your peace to anyone or anything unworthy. For your mind is your fortress, your sanctuary, your temple, and only when you guard it with discipline will you have the strength to build the life your spirit was always meant to create. There is a tension that many people carry but rarely name, the war between the mind and the spirit. The mind, filled with logic, memory, fear, and desire, often pulls in one direction. The spirit, anchored in truth, love, and higher vision, often pulls in another. And when these two are not aligned, life feels divided. You can accomplish much with the strength of the mind, but without the guidance of the spirit, those accomplishments may leave you hollow. True discipline is not only about controlling thoughts, it is about aligning those thoughts with the voice of your spirit. Only then does life flow with clarity, peace, and purpose. The mind is powerful. It can solve problems, create plans, and build empires. But the mind also remembers wounds, clings to fear, and magnifies doubt. Left to itself, the mind is easily swayed by circumstance, opinion, and the fleeting desires of the moment. The spirit, however, is constant. It knows who you are beyond your past, beyond your failures, beyond the expectations of others. It whispers of possibility when the mind screams of limitation. And when the mind finally learns to align with the spirit, it no longer serves as a restless master, but as a faithful servant to your higher calling. Alignment begins with listening. Too many people silence the voice of their spirit because it is quiet, gentle, and often inconvenient. The spirit may nudge you toward forgiveness when your mind demands revenge. It may call you to risk when your mind begs for safety. It may push you toward growth when your mind clings to comfort. But to discipline your mind means to train it to obey the guidance of the spirit, even when it is hard. It means allowing the higher voice within you to lead instead of letting fear or pride take the throne. Think of alignment as a symphony. When instruments play out of tune, the music is chaotic, uncomfortable, grating. But when each note falls into harmony, the song becomes powerful, moving, unforgettable. Your life is no different. When your mind argues with your spirit, there is noise. Decisions feel heavy, peace feels far, joy feels fragile. But when your mind aligns with the truth your spirit already knows, life flows like music, and every step feels guided. This alignment does not happen by accident. It requires practice, awareness, and surrender. The mind must be trained to pause before reacting, to question whether its thoughts are born from fear or from truth. It must be disciplined to let go of control and follow the deeper wisdom of the spirit. The mind is loud and the spirit is quiet. So the discipline lies in choosing the quiet voice, even when the louder one demands attention. So often people believe that their thoughts are the final authority. They think, if I feel it, if I think it, it must be real. But not every thought is truth. Many thoughts are echoes of wounds, reflections of past pain, or mirrors of other people's fears. Alignment means testing those thoughts against the deeper wisdom of your spirit. Does this thought bring peace, or does it stir anxiety? Does it align with love, or does it feed anger? Does it reflect who I truly am, or does it come from who I was told I must be? When you ask these questions, you begin to sort noise from truth, illusion from guidance. The aligned mind is not at war with itself. It does not waste energy battling between doubt and belief, fear and faith. It becomes steady, clear, and purposeful. Imagine the freedom of moving through life without second-guessing every choice, without being torn between what feels safe and what feels right. That freedom comes when your mind learns to trust your spirit, when your thoughts align with your deepest truth instead of your shallowest fear. But alignment also requires humility. The mind is proud. It wants control. It wants answers. It wants proof. The spirit often asks for trust without evidence, for leaps without maps. And to follow that guidance, the mind must be willing to surrender its illusion of control. That surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. For the spirit sees farther than the mind ever can. It sees beyond time, beyond fear, beyond the temporary. To align your mind with your spirit is to let go of the need to know every step and to trust the path as it unfolds. This is not easy. The mind will resist. It will argue. It will remind you of every time you failed, every reason you should stay where you are, every danger that could come. But the discipline lies in gently but firmly bringing your thoughts back into alignment again and again. When fear rises, remind your mind of the courage your spirit holds. When doubt speaks, remind your mind of the faith your spirit carries. When anger stirs, remind your mind of the love your spirit knows. In this constant practice, alignment grows stronger. When your mind aligns with your spirit, decisions become lighter. You no longer chase approval because your worth is rooted in something deeper. You no longer cling to control because you trust the greater wisdom guiding you. You no longer live in endless comparison because your spirit knows your path is your own. Peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of alignment. And when you are aligned, peace is yours even in the storm. Alignment also fuels resilience. A mind disconnected from spirit crumbles under pressure, swayed by every challenge. But a mind aligned with spirit remains steady because it is anchored in truth. Storms may come, disappointments may arrive, but you do not break. You bend, you adapt, you learn, but you do not lose yourself, for your spirit holds you steady and your mind follows its lead. To align your mind with your spirit is to reclaim authority over your life. It is to stop living as a prisoner of fear, doubt, and distraction, and to start living as the person you were always meant to be. It is to allow your thoughts to serve your higher truth instead of sabotaging it. It is to live with clarity, with purpose, with peace that no circumstance can steal. And perhaps the most beautiful gift of alignment is this. You begin to recognize yourself, not the self the world shaped, not the self wounded by yesterday, but the self that has always lived within, the self your spirit has known all along. And when your mind finally bows to that truth, you rise into freedom. At first glance, the words discipline and freedom seem to stand at opposite ends of the spectrum. Discipline feels like restriction, boundaries, rules, and sacrifice, while freedom feels like flight, spontaneity, and endless possibilities. Yet if you look closer, you will see that true freedom cannot exist without discipline. A life without discipline may feel free in the beginning, but over time it becomes a prison of chaos, regret, and missed potential. A disciplined life, however, builds the foundation upon which authentic freedom stands strong. Think about it. Freedom without structure quickly dissolves into disorder. Imagine a person who claims freedom in eating whatever they want, whenever they want, with no regard for health. That freedom soon becomes chains of illness and fatigue. Or think of someone who spends without discipline in the name of freedom. Sooner or later, that freedom collapses into the prison of debt. True freedom is not the absence of limits, but the ability to move through life without being enslaved to impulses, addictions, or distractions. And that ability is forged in the fire of discipline. Discipline is the quiet architect of liberty. It is the force that allows you to rise above the tug of the moment and live aligned with the vision of the future. The one who practices discipline is not trapped by fleeting desires. They are guided by lasting values. They are not enslaved to moods or whims. They are anchored by intention. Their freedom is not reckless, it is purposeful. It is the freedom to choose wisely, to live fully, to walk boldly toward the life they desire without being held hostage by self-sabotage. Understand this, freedom without discipline is nothing more than indulgence. It is the kind of freedom that looks bright but quickly burns out. But freedom born from discipline lasts. It grows. It strengthens. It becomes the kind of freedom that gives you mastery over your own life. The disciplined mind is free from the torment of indecision. The disciplined body is free from the weight of neglect. The disciplined spirit is free from the chains of fear and regret. Discipline opens the gates to the life you truly want, while a lack of discipline closes them tight. Discipline is freedom because it gives you control over yourself. And the greatest bondage a human being can face is not external. It is the inability to master one's own thoughts, habits, and desires. The world can bind your circumstances, but only you can bind your spirit by refusing discipline. Conversely, when you choose discipline, no matter what your circumstances look like, you walk with a kind of freedom that nothing outside of you can steal. Consider the artist who practices daily, who disciplines their hands, their voice, their craft. Others may see them as bound by routine, but in truth, that discipline is what gives them the freedom to express beauty, to create effortlessly, to move hearts and stir souls. Consider the athlete who trains relentlessly, who sacrifices comfort for consistency. Their discipline may look like limitation, but in truth, it gives them the freedom to excel, to rise above competition, to move their body with grace and strength others only dream of. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is its doorway. Even in relationships, discipline is freedom. The discipline to speak with kindness rather than anger, to listen instead of interrupt, to choose faithfulness over betrayal. These are not chains. They are choices that build trust, love, and connection. They free you from the loneliness that comes from careless words, from the heartbreak that comes from dishonor. Discipline creates the freedom to build relationships that last, relationships rooted in respect and truth. The same applies to time. If you live without discipline, time slips through your hands, wasted on distractions and regrets. But if you discipline your days, rising early, setting goals, keeping commitments, you create freedom within your hours. You gain the ability to use time instead of being used by it. That freedom is not found in doing whatever you feel like. It is found in choosing what matters most and sticking to it. Yes, discipline demands sacrifice. Yes, it requires saying no when every part of you wants to say yes. Yes, it asks for patience when the world screams for immediacy. But every sacrifice is an investment. Every no is a yes to something greater. Every moment of patience becomes a step closer to lasting fulfillment. The undisciplined life may offer short bursts of pleasure, but the disciplined life offers the long, steady joy of freedom. There is also freedom in simplicity. Discipline frees you from clutter, mental, emotional, and physical. It teaches you to let go of what you do not need, to stop feeding what drains you, to choose wisely where your energy flows. When you guard your habits, when you master your impulses, when you align your life with your values, you walk lighter. You are no longer weighed down by excess or regret. That lightness is freedom. Many people confuse discipline with punishment. They think discipline robs them of joy. But discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects you from the destruction of your own unchecked desires. It protects you from becoming a slave to habits that weaken instead of strengthen. It protects you from the slow erosion of your dreams. Discipline is the shield that guards your future, the tool that shapes your destiny, the path that leads you to a life of true liberty. The paradox is clear. The more disciplined you become, the freer you are. The less disciplined you are, the more enslaved you become to fear, to doubt, to procrastination, to regret. Freedom is not about doing everything you want. It is about having the strength to choose what is best. And that strength is the fruit of discipline. So let the world call discipline rigid. Let it call it harsh. Let it call it unforgiving. You will know better. You will know that discipline is the key that unlocks the chains, the gate that opens the path, the foundation upon which your freedom stands. For in the end, the life you want most will never be built by chance. It will be built by choice, by consistency, by courage, and above all, by discipline. And once you embrace that truth, you will taste the kind of freedom that no indulgence, no distraction, no shortcut can ever offer. So I ask you today, who rules your mind? Are you the master or the prisoner? Do not wait for life to push you, break you, and force you to awaken. Choose now. Choose to discipline your mind, to guard your thoughts, to silence the noise, and to align with your spirit. For when you do, the world will no longer shake you. You will stand as the unshakable one. And your life, your destiny will finally belong to you.